Retirement is sold to people like it's the credits rolling at the end of a movie. You work, you save, you earn the right to stop. And then what? Sit in the stands, watch the world keep playing, and try to stay busy until the clock runs out. That's the scam. The truth is, retirement isn't the end of the game. It's just the point where the referee blows the whistle and you get to rewrite the rules for yourself. Up until retirement, most people are playing inside someone else's system. Company policies, deadlines, bosses, client demands. Your schedule is dictated, your focus is assigned, and your goals are often chosen for you. That's not a bad thing when you're learning, building, and collecting tools. But the moment you step into retirement, you're not bound by that framework anymore. The scoreboard resets. You're in a different league now, one where you decide what counts as a win. And that's where most people get lost. They've been following a playbook for so long that when it's gone, they panic. No rules feels like no purpose. But the reality is, it's the ultimate opportunity. You can go after projects you believe in without asking permission. You can design challenges that fit your strengths instead of your job description. You can take risks without the fear of losing a paycheck, because now your currency is time and impact, not salary and promotions. Think about it. Athletes don't retire from movement. They retire from a particular sport. Then they either fade away or find a new arena where their skills still matter. Retirement is exactly the same. You're not retiring from creating, contributing, or competing. You're just switching fields. And if you switch smart, you can find a game that's even more exciting than the one you just left. The key is to define your own metrics. Stop thinking in terms of how to fill my day and start thinking what's worth building now. That could be mentoring young entrepreneurs, restoring a classic car, leading a community initiative, or launching a passion project that scares you a little. The point is, the scoreboard is now entirely yours to design. When you treat retirement as a shift in rules instead of an exit, everything changes. The sense of urgency comes back, not because someone else is cracking the whip, but because you've got missions you actually care about. Your time feels valuable again. And purpose stops being something you hope to stumble upon. It becomes something you engineer. So don't walk off the field thinking the game's over. Pick up the ball, change the field, set your own scoring system, and keep playing. Only this time, you're not a player in someone else's league. You own the league. Most people spend decades thinking purpose is something handed to them by the world. You get a job, you're given a role, a title, a set of responsibilities, and suddenly you believe that's your purpose. But that's not purpose, that's structure. It's borrowed meaning. The moment that structure disappears, whether through retirement, career change, or disruption, you realize it was never truly yours. And for a lot of people, that realization feels like free fall. Here's the truth. Purpose is self-generated. It's not a promotion. It's not a corner office. It's not a plaque with your name on it. It's a decision. It's a line in the sand where you say, this matters to me, and I'm going to commit my energy to it. And the best part, you don't need anyone's permission to make that call. Jobs and titles can act like scaffolding. They help you build skills, connections, and habits. But they're just frameworks. The real engine of your life is the problem you decide is worth solving, the mission you choose to chase, and the vision you refuse to abandon. That's something you can create anytime, anywhere, without a formal role or external validation. Look at history. People who shape the world rarely wait for a job description that says, go change everything. They pick something that matters, and they move. Purpose lives in motion. You can't think your way into it like a riddle you're trying to solve on paper. You have to act. Even small actions compound. You start building, experimenting, teaching, solving, and the feedback from those actions pulls you deeper into your mission. The trap is thinking purpose is about scale. It's not. You don't have to launch a global company or solve climate change to have a powerful reason to wake up in the morning. You could decide your purpose is documenting your family history so it's never lost, or building a community garden that feeds 100 people a year, or mentoring one young person every month. Purpose doesn't measure itself in headlines. It measures itself in impact. When you understand that purpose is self-generated, you take back control. You stop waiting for someone to assign you meaning. You realize you can build it from the ground up using nothing more than curiosity, effort, and persistence. That's a liberating shift because it means purpose can't be taken away from you. Not by a boss, not by a market crash, not even by retirement. So stop waiting for a title to define you. Pick your mission. Own it completely. And remember, the world doesn't care if you have a nameplate on your desk. It cares if you're building something that matters. And that's something only you can decide. Every morning you wake up, you're at a fork in the road, whether you realize it or not. One path is drift, you let the day carry you wherever it wants, reacting to whatever shows up, moving without intention. The other path is drive, you set a target, aim for it, and use your day as fuel to get closer. The difference between the two doesn't just shape how your day feels, it shapes who you become. Drifting is easy. You don't have to think much. You check your phone, scroll for a while, run some errands, watch something, maybe meet a friend. The hours melt together, and you tell yourself you've been busy. But here's the problem: business without direction is motion without progress. You can drift for days, weeks, even years, and not actually build anything that matters. Driving is different. Driving starts with deciding, before the day even begins, what you want out of it. Not just a to-do list, but a meaningful point of focus. Something that will move the needle in your life, even if only by an inch. You might not hit the goal every day, but aiming for it changes your posture toward life. You're leaning forward instead of being pushed around. The human brain thrives on targets. Without them, it gets lazy, distracted, and restless. Give it a mission, even a small one, and it switches on. That's why people often feel more alive when they're in the middle of a big project, training for something, or solving a problem. The act of pursuing creates energy, and energy creates more pursuit. It's a feedback loop. The most dangerous thing about drifting is that it doesn't feel dangerous in the moment. There's no immediate pain, no obvious loss. But over time, you lose sharpness, you lose momentum, you lose that spark that comes from having something worth chasing. And once that fades, it's hard to get back. Driving requires discipline, yes, but not the kind that feels like punishment. It's the discipline of saying, I will choose my target today, not let the day choose for me. That could mean finishing a chapter of your book, learning a skill, making progress on a personal project, or connecting deeply with someone who matters. The size of the goal is less important than the fact that it exists. So tomorrow morning, before you let the world flood your head with noise, ask yourself one question. Am I going to drift, or am I going to drive? Answer it honestly. Because every day you drive, you're not just getting closer to a goal, you're building a life where you're in control of the wheel, not just a passenger hoping for a good destination. Purpose isn't something you find by sitting in a chair and thinking really hard about it. You can read all the books, journal for hours, and have endless deep conversations, but none of that matters if you never take a step forward. Purpose is not born in theory, it's born in motion. People wait for clarity before they act, like there's going to be a perfect moment where the clouds part and their life mission is revealed in neon lights. That moment doesn't come. Clarity is a side effect of action. You try something, you get feedback. You adjust, you move again. Each step sharpens the picture. You discover what pulls you forward, what drains you, what excites you enough to keep going even when it's hard. The problem with contemplation is that it feels productive. You feel like you're working on yourself because you're thinking deeply. But without action, you're just circling the runway without ever taking off. And staying on the runway too long kills momentum. Action gets you airborne, even if the flight path isn't perfect. Purpose has to be stress-tested in the real world. You might think you're passionate about something, but until you do the work, deal with the challenges, and feel the resistance, you won't know if it's real or just an idea you like in theory. Doing the thing is what separates romantic notions from actual purpose. And here's the beautiful part: you don't have to start big. Action doesn't mean overhauling your life overnight. It can be as simple as sending an email, building a prototype, volunteering for a cause, or spending 30 minutes working on a skill. Small moves compound faster than you expect. Once you start, you create momentum. Momentum creates progress. And progress fuels purpose. The brain loves progress. Even tiny wins release energy and motivation. That's why people often discover their deepest sense of meaning in the middle of doing, not before. The work itself starts to shape the mission. You realize, this is what I'm meant to build, not because you thought it into existence, but because you lived it into existence. If you want a life charged with purpose, you can't think your way there like solving a puzzle in your head. You build your way there. Start moving. Start experimenting. Start producing something tangible. The direction will reveal itself through the doing. And every time you act, you're not just chasing purpose, you're creating it. Momentum is the invisible engine behind every meaningful thing you've ever built in life. It's what turns effort into acceleration. The first push is always the hardest. Starting a new habit, beginning a project, learning a skill. At the beginning, everything feels slow and heavy. You're pushing against inertia, and inertia hates to be moved. But the moment you break through that initial resistance, something shifts. You stop having to force every move. You start to get pulled forward. That's momentum. Momentum creates energy because it changes the physics of your life. When you're making progress, Even small progress, you stop wasting mental fuel on, should I keep going? And start using it on, how far can I take this? That mental shift alone frees up an incredible amount of energy. You don't have to drag yourself to the work anymore. The work starts dragging you along with it. Think about how it feels to work out after weeks of inactivity versus when you've been consistent for a month. At first, every session feels like a battle. But once you've stacked a few weeks of wins, skipping a day feels harder than showing up. That's the power of momentum. It makes the right thing easier than the wrong thing. And that energy you gain from momentum, that's what sustains purpose over the long haul. Purpose isn't a quick burst. It's a marathon that lasts years, sometimes decades. Without sustained energy, even the most inspiring mission will burn out. Momentum acts like a generator. As long as you keep feeding it with small actions, it keeps powering the system. The trap most people fall into is waiting for energy before they start. They think, once I feel motivated, I'll take action. But it works in reverse. Momentum creates energy, not the other way around. You have to act first, even when you feel flat, and let the movement generate the spark. That spark grows with each step until it becomes its own self-sustaining loop. Momentum also compounds. The more progress you make, the more capacity you build to take on bigger challenges. The skill you learn on one project becomes the tool you use to accelerate the next one. Over time, this stacking effect makes your purpose feel unstoppable. Not because it's easy, but because you've built the speed, power, and resilience to keep going. If you want to keep your purpose alive, don't obsess over feeling inspired every day. Obsess over keeping momentum alive. Take the smallest step you can take today, no matter how insignificant it feels. Do it again tomorrow. Stack enough of those steps, and suddenly you're not crawling toward your purpose. You're being pulled toward it by a force you built yourself. Retirement is the first time in your life when three rare forces align: experience, freedom, and control. And together they give you unmatched leverage. Most people don't realize how powerful this combination is because they've never had all three at once. When you're young, you might have freedom, but you lack experience. When you're mid-career, you might have control over certain choices, but freedom is limited and your time isn't really your own. Retirement is different. It's the moment you hold all three cards, and if you play them right, you can create impact on a scale you never could before. Let's start with experience. You've accumulated decades of real-world knowledge, not just facts, but patterns, instincts, and hard-earned lessons that can't be Googled. You've seen what works and what fails. You've made mistakes and survived them. That wisdom is a competitive advantage most people undervalue. The problem is, too many people put it on a shelf in retirement instead of putting it to work. Then there's freedom. No more corporate deadlines. No more fitting your dreams into the edges of your calendar. You decide when and how you use your time. Freedom is oxygen for purpose. It lets you pursue missions without the constant pressure of someone else's demands. The irony is, some people treat that oxygen like it's just fresh air to breathe in lazily. They don't realize it can be used as fuel to ignite something big. And finally, control. You now get to choose not just what to do, but who to do it with and why. You're not stuck on teams you didn't choose or projects you don't care about. You control the scope, the pace, the mission, and the people you bring along. That kind of control is rare in life, and it's even rarer when it's paired with the wisdom to use it well. Now combine all three. Experience tells you what's worth doing. Freedom gives you the time to do it. Control lets you execute on your own terms. That's leverage, because leverage isn't just about resources, it's about positioning. And right now, you're in the strongest position you've ever been in to create something that matters. The danger is wasting it. If you let these years drift by without applying that leverage, you're sitting on the most valuable asset you'll ever own and letting it rust. But if you use it, mentor someone, launch a project, solve a problem you care about, you can create ripple effects that will last long after you're gone. Retirement isn't about stepping away from the game. It's about stepping into a position of maximum leverage. You've already done the hard part, earning the cards. Now the question is, what game are you going to play with them? Purpose doesn't arrive in a flash of lightning. It doesn't show up fully formed, complete with a roadmap and a guarantee of success. It usually starts small, so small you might overlook it. It starts as curiosity. Something catches your attention. You wonder how it works. You wonder if it could be better. You can't stop thinking about it. That spark, if you feed it, is the seed of purpose. Curiosity is powerful because it's honest. It's not about obligation or external approval. It's about what genuinely pulls you in. It bypasses fear because it feels like exploration, not pressure. The mistake most people make is dismissing their curiosity because it doesn't feel serious enough. They wait for something grand, something officially important before they act. But the truth is, every great mission in history began as someone asking, what if? The danger is staying in curiosity forever. Curiosity is the ignition, but commitment is the engine. At some point, you have to decide, this is worth my time, my energy, and my focus. Without that decision, curiosity burns bright but fast, like a match that flares and dies. Commitment is what turns it into a fire that can burn for decades. Commitment changes everything. When you commit, you stop dabbling and start building. You push through the boring parts, the frustrating parts, the setbacks. You don't quit just because it's hard or because the initial excitement fades. Commitment transforms a hobby into a mission, an interest into a legacy. And here's the key. Commitment doesn't kill curiosity, it deepens it. The more you invest yourself in something, the more angles you discover, the more you want to learn, the more you're drawn in. That loop, curiosity feeding commitment, commitment feeding curiosity, is how purpose becomes self-sustaining. This is especially true in retirement. You have the time to follow your curiosity without asking for permission. You have the freedom to commit without worrying about whether it fits someone else's agenda. And you have the experience to know when something is worth going all in on. That's a rare combination. The question isn't, what's my purpose? The better question is, what am I curious about right now, and am I willing to commit to it long enough to see where it goes? Because the truth is, you don't find your purpose, you grow it. And it grows exactly the way anything alive grows, from a tiny seed, fed with attention, strengthened by persistence, and sustained by the decision to keep going. Curiosity starts the journey. Commitment keeps you on it. Put them together, and you won't just wake up with something to do. You'll wake up with something to live for. Now that we have all 7 parts fully written, I can weave them into one seamless, high-energy keynote on how to wake up every day with purpose, even in retirement, so it reads as a single flowing speech instead of separate pieces. Would you like me to create that full version? So here's the point. Retirement isn't the finish line, it's the launch pad. You've already done the decades of learning, building, failing, and winning. You've collected the kind of experience, freedom, and control that most people dream of but never reach at the same time. Now it's about deciding what to do with it. Purpose isn't a luxury, it's fuel. It's not something handed to you by a job description or a title. It's something you generate, feed, and protect. It grows in the doing, not the waiting. The more you move, the more momentum you build. The more momentum you build, the more energy you have to keep going. And when you aim that energy at something that matters to you, the days stop blending together. You wake up with clarity, urgency, and drive. The game hasn't ended. It's just yours to run now. And the question you'll ask yourself every morning isn't, what should I do today? But, what's worth building while I still can? Answer that, and act on it, and you'll never have to worry about finding purpose again.